Hello everyone. In today's session, we'll be seeing CBSE Grade 8 Science Chapter 2 Microorganisms Friend or Foe. So, what are microorganisms? Micro means very small. Organisms we all know. So, microorganisms are organisms, living beings that are too small to be seen through our naked eye. We cannot see them with our vision. Yes, but we can see them using special instruments called microscope. You can see them under microscope and electron microscope. Yes. So where are these living organisms, microorganisms found? They're found everywhere around us. You can see them everywhere around us in the air, in the soil, in the water. Yes, but fortunately, most of the living organisms are harmless and hence they don't trouble us, and that's a good thing. Yes, so, what are microorganisms? They are tiny living organisms that are found around us, which cannot be seen through our naked eye. So, how are these microorganisms classified? These microorganisms are classified into four major groups called bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and some algae. So, what are bacteria? They are tiny microscopic living organisms which are found in the air, soil, and water. You have some good bacteria, you have some bad bacteria as well. Yes, bacteria are very well characterized by a proper cell wall. Yes, and next you have fungi. These fungi are again another set of both microscopic organism as well as microscopic. Yes, these fungi are characterized by thread-like structures. Yes, and next you have protozoa. They are again microorganisms which are single-celled. Yes, and next you have algae. These algae are both microscopic and macroscopic. Yes, we'll read about them further in this chapter. And next you have another class of microorganisms called viruses. These viruses are neither living nor dead. They come under a very special category. They're much smaller than bacteria, but when in a living organism, they behave like a living organism. But when they are outside a living organism, they behave like a dead organism. They can be crystallized. They behave like only chemicals. They just behave like chemicals or dead thing outside the living organisms. But once if they get a chance to enter a living organism, they start getting active, they start behaving like a living organism. They are a puzzle. Yes, it's very difficult to understand virus. Yes, they are microscopic. They are both living and non-living. Living when inside a living organism and non-living when outside. Yes, and they can be crystallized. Yes, in this chapter we shall discuss about some of the good things and the bad things that the living organism, microorganisms do to us. Yes, see a certain these living organisms get us some diseases also, like see bacterial disease. Typhoid is being caused by bacteria. The fungus, all the ringworm infection in our hands are all caused by fungus. Protozoa, I told you, they are single cell organisms. Malaria and dysentery are called by protozoans. Though mosquito is a carrier, they are carrier. Mosquito is acting as an agent which is carrying this protozoa. Okay, Entamoeba histolytica. There is a protozoan called Entamoeba histolytica which causes amoebic dysentery. And next you have Plasmodium vivax, which is a protozoa which causes malaria. Yes, and you have the bacterial diseases caused, bacterial diseases you all know, typhoid, TB, tuberculosis. Yes, these are bacterial diseases. Yes, and in this chapter you will read about both the good effects and bad effects of microorganisms. You can see the structure of bacteria. Bacteria come under different shapes. You can see here it's almost like a spiral shaped bacteria. Here it's rod shaped bacteria. They are very small and come under in different shapes. Yes, and you can see here algae. These are some of the microscopic organisms. Chlamydia monas, you can see here it's a single celled algae, whereas Pyrogyra, as you can see, it is a ribbon shaped algae. You can see it's just shaped in the shape of ribbon. Yes, and next you have protozoa. Protozoa are single cell organisms. You can see here amoeba, you can see paramecium here. These are examples of, you should remember this examples. Under each division, what are the examples? Yes, bacteria, you have to remember 2 examples. Algae, 2 examples. Protozoa, amoeba and paramecium. Next you have fungi. I told you fungi are characterized by thread-like structures. Yes, you can see the thread-like structures here, thread-like structures here, thread-like structures here. It's called hyphae. Yes, these hyphae are the characteristic features of fungi. Yes, fungi can, it neither comes under plant kingdom nor under animal kingdom. It doesn't come under plant kingdom because it cannot prepare its own food. Fungi cannot prepare its own food. Yes. Why it cannot come under animal kingdom? Because it has a cell wall, proper cell wall, and hence it neither comes under plant kingdom or animal kingdom. Yes, but it does cause some infections. It does do some good to us also. Yes. We'll see some of the friendly, you can see the structure of virus here. Yes, this is how it looks like when inside a living body. Yes, it has a proper head-like structure. This is the structure through which it attaches itself to the living organism. Yes. Now we'll go into some of the friendly microorganisms that help us. Yes. In our everyday life, we can see a lot of organisms helping us. For example, you would have observed your mother in the night. She puts few drops of curd into the warm milk, and the next day the whole milk becomes curd. How does this happen? It happens because the curd has a bacteria called lactobacillus, which helps in the conversion of milk to curd. So this is a good thing, right? So this lactobacillus is very good for our stomach. It helps in the digestion, it helps in the absorption of the nutrients, and it's a very good probiotic. It helps in the absorption of the nutrients very properly. Yes, and whenever a child or an elder person has loose motions, first thing which is prescribed is the curd or probiotics, which is rich in bacteria, especially lactobacillus. Yes, and second thing is again the dough. People, you must be aware of making dosas and idlis. Your mom, what she does is grinds it and she mixes with her hand, and the next day the batter would have risen up. Yes. How does it happen and why does it happen? Because when we mix it with a hand, our hand contains some bacteria and yeast, good bacteria and yeast, and they help in the process of fermentation. What they do is they break the batter, they break the glucose content, starch content in the food, and in the process release carbon dioxide. This process is called fermentation. Yes, dosa batter, idli batter fermentation happens every day, and that is very good. That batter is considered very good because it will be rich in probiotic and rich in vitamin B12. Yes, so these bacteria and yeast help in the fermentation process. And apart from that, you have lots of bacteria helping in the fertility of the soil. Yes, you would have heard about in the first chapter leguminous plants. I told you the leguminous plants are plants whose root nodules have a bacteria called rhizobium, which helps in the nitrogen fixation. So these rhizobium bacteria helps in the fixation of the nitrogen. So this way bacteria plays a very important role in mostly food processing industry. Yes, in the making of curd and even in bread what yeast is used. Yes, in the maida they mix it with yeast and leave it for some time, and fermentation happens. The batter increases in size. Yes, you can see here maida mixed with yeast powder. We leave it for 1 hour. It just bloats up like this because uh, yeast is acting on them, converting them into alcohol, releasing some alcohol and releasing some CO2 as well. Yes, this process is called fermentation. Yes, so we'll move. Another thing is um, when it comes to microorganisms, two very important topics needs to be discussed. One is antibiotics and the second is vaccination. You have to remember that these two are very different but very important, especially in today's world. You would have heard about the term antibiotics. Antibiotics, anti means against, biotics, living organisms. So in this case, antibiotics means living organisms act against living organisms. Yes, so whenever the term antibiotics come to your mind, you have to remember Alexander Fleming. Yes, he was the one who discovered it, and it was an accidental discovery. How did it happen? He used to work with bacteria in his lab, and he used to have many slides of bacteria, and probably for some reasons he just left it and came back after 3 or 4 days and saw the bacterial slides, and he realized that the slides had some green growth on them, some fungal growth on them. And when he observed under the microscope, he saw that wherever the green growth was there, the bacteria had not grown. Not only that, the bacteria was killed. The bacteria were killed uh, wherever the green growth was there. Then he understood, if probably it was somebody else, they would have thrown the slide thinking that it was contaminated. But then when he saw it, and then experimented, he realized that this green fungus was producing some substances which is killing the bacteria. So what he discovered was, the first thing was penicillin. The first substances he extracted was penicillin. Yes, from the fungus Penicillium. Yes, so penicillin is the first antibiotic which was discovered by Alexander Fleming. So whenever the term antibiotics come to your mind, you have to tell it is by Alexander Fleming, who discovered it in the year 1929. These antibiotics are substances derived from the living organisms to act against living organisms, right? Nowadays you must be aware, when you were sick, doctor prescribes you antibiotics, and it's a 3-day course or 5-day course, and based on the doctor's advice we all follow that, right? Some of the antibiotics are streptomycin, tetracycline and erythromycin. Yes, these are the antibiotics. Now, next we move to another important topic. It's a vaccine. Now, with coronavirus lurking around us, we are all aware of vaccination. What exactly is vaccine? It is the same organism, microorganism, which is either in a dead state or a partially living state, which is injected into our bodies. Why this happens? We all know that whenever a foreign body enters our organism, our body produces what is called antibodies to fight against them. Yes, the same technique is used in vaccine. Yes, you can see vaccination was discovered by Edward Jenner in the year 1798. Yes, this was the time when chickenpox was very cowpox and smallpox were very common. Yes, so what they did was, many people, thousands were dying, and vaccine works on this concept. Yes, you introduce the same microorganism in very small doses, either dead or partially living, into the bodies, and the body starts producing antibodies to fight against that particular organism, and next time the person will not get the disease. Yes, this is the concept on which vaccination works. Yes, so far we have read about vaccination and antibiotics. Both are very important concept. Uh, Antibiotics discovered by Alexander Fleming, and vaccination by Edward Jenner. You have to remember this. The concept is simple. Antibiotics are living organism acting against living organism. Vaccine concept is our bodies produce own antibodies whenever a foreign body is entered. That foreign body is artificially entered by taking the same virus. For example, for coronavirus vaccine, they are using the same coronavirus only, which is dead or lightly partially active into the human body. So what happens is, now the body is producing antibodies to fight against this vaccine, which is injected. Yes, so our immune system is developed. This is how immune system is developed by giving vaccination. Yes, now we'll go into the fertility, how uh, bacteria or other microorganisms help in the fertility of the soil. Yes, they help in the nitrogen fixation. I discussed in the previous uh, previously that they help in the fixation of nitrogen in the soil. You can see the examples of certain nitrogen fixing bacteria here: blue green algae, nostoc. These are some microorganisms which help in, which are still very commonly used by the farmers. Yes, so this is the, and equally you have harmful microorganisms. They causes several diseases also. These disease causing microorganisms are called pathogens. You have to remember this. What are pathogens? Disease causing microorganisms are called pathogens. Yes, either they cause a disease directly, yes, or they make it happen through carriers. Carriers means agents. Yes, these certain diseases that spreads from one person to another are called communicable diseases. Yes, you can see here microbial diseases that can spread from an infected person to a healthy person through air, water, food or physical contact are called communicable diseases. What are communicable diseases? Nothing but diseases that spreads easily from one person to another either through air, water, food or direct contact. Right now the best example is corona. It spreads easily through air, physical contact. Yes, so hence it's a communicable diseases. That's why we have so many restrictions in place, right? And you have another set of diseases caused by carriers. They are some agents. For example, housefly is an agent, mosquito is an agent, some animals are agents in acting as a carrier. They just help in transportation. They just help in transmitting the microorganism and cause the diseases. Yes, for example, if you take malaria, plasmodium is a microorganism which causes it, but it gets into Anopheles mosquito, especially female Anopheles mosquito, and when a man is bitten by the female Anopheles mosquito, he gets the malaria. Yes, same way Aedes mosquito causes dengue virus. Yes, so the virus is getting transmitted using a mosquito which is a carrier. It doesn't affect the mosquito, but it acts as a carrier. Yes, so this is how diseases are spread from one person to another. But there are certain diseases which is not caused by microorganism, but which is by the some defect in the body. Yes, they are non-communicable diseases. Yes, you can see here they've given the list of diseases. It's very important. Tuberculosis or TB is caused by bacteria. Measles by virus. Chickenpox by virus. Polio by virus. Cholera and typhoid by bacteria. Hepatitis A and B and C by virus. Malaria by protozoa. This is very important. Protozoal diseases are malaria and amoebiasis. Yes, you have to remember. It's very important to remember the diseases. Yes. You can see here it's mentioned Robert Koch discovered the bacterium Bacillus anthracis which contract anthrax disease. It was one of the deadliest disease. Then, yes, you have certain diseases affecting the plants as well. So lots of effort is being done to make sure that it doesn't happen, so that and the yield is not reduced, as discussed in the previous chapter. These are some of the plant diseases as well. Citrus canker caused by bacteria, rust of wheat caused by fungi, yellow vein mosaic of bindi caused by virus. You have to remember this, especially citrus canker caused by bacteria. It's nothing but reddish dots on the lemon fruit as well as the leaves, reddish brownish dots. Yes, it affects the yield and the plant, and it's not good for the crop production. Yes, and in food poisoning also, certain microorganisms can cause severe food poisoning, especially when we eat stale food infected by certain bacteria. It can cause severe food poisoning, and it needs to be addressed, and hence it's very important to eat fresh food. And certain methods are being followed to make sure that the food is preserved in such a way that microorganisms do not enter. Because if you leave a bread outside for 2 to 3 days, you will see that a green layer would have been formed, right? It's because of the fungus. Similarly, you leave any food for one day, next day it would have it smells rotten and it looks rotten, and it's not good, right? We should never eat such food. Yes, it can cause severe food poisoning. Yes, so certain food preservation methods are followed to make sure that food is not uh, spoiled. Yes, you can see here, salts and edible oils are the common chemicals generally used to check the growth of microorganisms. Therefore, they are called preservatives. For example, if you see in your home, your mother or grandmother, they make pickle and store it for a very long time. They can use it for 1 year, 2 years also, because they they use lots of salt in the process, and in the oil also they use so much. And the salt, oil and sugars, all this helps in the um, uh, so, yeah, it helps to prevent the growth of the bacteria or other microorganisms. Yes, they are commonly very used. You can see the common salt here, preservation by common salt. Common salt has been used to preserve meat, fish for ages. Meat and fish are covered with dry salt. Yes, meat, fish and pickles are all amla, raw mangoes. They are preserved using salt. Preservation is done by sugar also. For example, jams and jellies, they stay for a very long time because they are made with sugars. Yes. Next you have use of oil and vinegar prevents spoilage of pickles because bacteria cannot live in such environment. Yes, vinegar also prevents the mm, food from getting spoiled. Yes. Uh, next, next we have pasteurization. Yes, this is pasteurization is very important. This is the process by which milk is preserved. We get milk in our packets every day. It has to get transported from a long place, from a very distant place, and it has to reach the cities, right? So it has to be preserved. Yes. So what exactly happens is, first milk is heated to a high temperature at about 70 degrees for 15 to 30 seconds, and suddenly it is chilled. Yes, and stored. This process makes sure that there are no microbes. Yes, again, this pasteurization is discovered by Louis Pasteur. Yes, what is pasteurization? Preservation of milk. How does it happen? Heating it sudden for 15 to 30 seconds in high degree temperature, 70 degrees, and suddenly cooling it is called pasteurization. Yes, and again, it's very packaging is very important. We should make sure that packaging is done in such a way that bacteria, virus doesn't enter in. Yes. So far we have discussed about the good things as well as the bad things the microorganisms does. You can see here I told you about the rhizobium present in the root nodules of leguminous plants. You can see the knots here. These are the knots. If you take a section and see, there will be rhizobium present. It helps in the nitrogen fixation of the soil. Yes. Next you have what is called nitrogen cycle. See, we all know that um, nitrogen is very important for the plant growth. Yes, 78% surrounding us is only nitrogen, but plants cannot use them very directly. Yes, it has to be in the form of nitrates or nitrites for the plant to be used. Yes. How does nitrates come in? Uh, these nitrogen, when lightning occurs, whenever lightning occurs, it can be converted into nitrates. Yes, and what happens is, this atmospheric nitrogen, with the help of bacteria, as I told you, certain leguminous plants will have certain bacteria, right? They help in the conversion of nitrogen into nitrates. Yes. Then what happens? These nitrates are taken up by the plants. Yes. These plants are eaten by the animals. And the animals, when they either die or when they excrete, nitrogen is given back to the soil. Yes. And again, this way it is returned to the soil. So it's like a cycle, as you can see. First you have the atmospheric nitrogen, either by lightning or by nitrogen fixing bacteria, it is getting converted into nitrates and it is being taken up by the plants. The plants are eaten by animals, and when they die or when they excrete, the waste return to the soil. Yes. Then you have certain bacteria turn compounds of nitrogen into gaseous nitrogen. There are certain bacteria which does the reverse, like converting the nitrates into atmospheric nitrogen and directly releasing them. This is how the nitrogen cycle is maintained. Yes, this is very important concept. So you can see the questions here. Microorganisms can be seen with the help of a microscope. Blue-green algae fix nitrogen directly from air and enhance fertility of soil. Alcohol is produced with the help of yeast. Yes, cholera is caused by Vibrio cholera, which is a bacteria. Yeast is used in the production of sugar, alcohol, hydrochloric acid, oxygen. Alcohol. The following is an antibiotic, streptomycin. Carrier of malaria causing protozoan is female Anopheles mosquito. The most common carrier of communicable disease is housefly. We all know that. Bread or idli dough rises because of growth of yeast cells. Yeah? The process of conversion of sugar into alcohol is called fermentation. Yes, you can see, match the following here. Bacteria, which means what will come here? Fixing nitrogen. Rhizobium fixing nitrogen. Lactobacillus setting of curd. Yeast yeast is used in baking of bread. A protozoan is, what is a protozoan? Malaria, causing malaria. A virus is causing AIDS. Yes, AIDS is a disease caused by the virus. And next you have bacteria. What can come for bacteria? Cholera. Bacteria causes cholera. Rhizobium is fixing nitrogen. Lactobacillus setting of curd. Yeast baking of bread. Protozoan malaria. Virus causing AIDS. Yes. Can microorganisms be seen with the naked eye? If not, how can this be seen? Microorganisms can never be seen with a naked eye because they are too small to be seen by our eye. They can be seen only with the help of a microscope. Yes. What are the major groups of microorganisms? It's there in the first part of the chapter, which is bacteria, protozoa, fungi, algae, and there's another group called viruses. That's separate. Name the microorganisms which can fix atmospheric nitrogen in the soil. Rhizobium. Yes. Nostoc, Anabina. These are the examples. Write 10 lines on the usefulness of microorganisms in our life. Usefulness, they help in making curd, they help in making bread, they help in nitrogen fixation, they help in making vinegar, acetic acid, they help in what else they help in? They help in what else? They help in making curd. They help in making increasing the fertility of our soil. Yes, write a short paragraph on the harmful effects of microorganisms. They cause lot of diseases. Yes, bacterial disease, you can give example as typhoid and TB. Viral diseases, corona, AIDS. Yes, and fungal diseases, ringworm infections, certain skin infections. Yes, what are antibiotics? What precautions must be taken while taking antibiotics? Antibiotics are substances produced by the living organism to fight against the living organisms. Yes. What precautions should be taken? It has to be taken only with the consultation by the doctor. We cannot take antibiotics on our own. Okay. Thank you all. We'll see in the next chapter.